Hey everyone, I was just down in my office here doing a little bit of promo for a couple of shows that I'm putting on in the near future, and I thought I'd just turn the camera on and give my top actionable tips for getting more gigs in your cover band or in the cover band scene. And I think, whether you're just starting out or whether you are a seasoned musician, I'm hoping that you'll be able to find something that you can take away from these tips. So we'll get straight into it. Tip number one, start with your local scene. My sort of actions that I would do around this would be to make a list of every bar, cafe, brewery, anywhere that puts on gigs with the sorts of bands that you're looking to play in, probably within a radius of 20 miles or 30 kilometers, something like that, of your home. Get out there and visit them in person. Go to gigs, introduce yourself to the other bands, promoters, the staff, the venue managers, etc. Follow those venues online, so see what they're doing in terms of promotion, what bands they're putting on, and maybe even then send them a short message with your promo kit. What I've tended to do in the past is to go out gig fishing with a friend of mine who's a drummer in one of my bands, and what we basically used to do was take a one-page promo out with us, go and look for the event manager, buy ourselves a pint, have a bit of a chat with them, probably visit 4 or 5 venues over a weekend, and you can come away with a gig or two out of that quite easily just by building those relationships with people. People tend to do business with people that they know or people that they feel they can trust, so taking the time to go in and build those personal relationships is definitely a benefit and will work in your favour. So my second tip is to build an irresistible promo kit, and the sort of things that you want in a promo kit would be a really solid live video, maybe 30 to 60 seconds of footage. You could go a bit longer if you want, but if you have that short but punchy, something that's showing some real energy. If you've done gigs before, try and get some shots where you've got a decent crowd in there and there are people dancing. That'll really, really go a long way to be able to demonstrate that you can put on a good performance. The second thing you probably want in there is some good photos. So maybe only 3 to 5 good photos. You might want a band photo and maybe some live shots. If you've got a particularly charismatic lead singer, you might want a shot of the lead singer, something like that. You should have a short, punchy band bio. My tip for that would be to talk about what the unique selling points of the band are. I wouldn't go into explaining who the members of the band are and what they play, and they played in some cover band 15 years ago and that sort of thing. Nobody's going to know them or want to be interested in that kind of material unless they've been in a particularly famous or particularly successful band in the local scene before. Then maybe you might want to leverage that. So really I would steer clear of introducing the individual members of the band and concentrate on the unique selling points instead. I would also include in that promo pack a sample set list. I wouldn't give away necessarily all of your songs or the structure of the set, but just some examples of the types of music and the types of bands that you play. So you might put together a list of say 12. I would put all that information together in a Google Drive or a OneDrive, something like that, something that you can easily share with these different venues and promoters so that they can see this, and you basically treat it like a promo kit or a press pack, and you'll send that link and they can have a look at that and decide whether you're the sort of actor that they want to do business with. So why does this work? Well, it makes you look professional for a start off, and it makes it easy to say yes. If you've got a compelling story about your band, then it makes it a lot easier for them to say yes. So following on from the first tip, my third tip is about networking, and you really want to put some effort into networking in your local scene. So that's connecting with other bands, with other managers of venues, event planners, booking agents, various people, and you know, with the other bands you might want to offer to share gigs, you know, maybe offer to open up for them if they've been established for a bit longer than you have. Refer each other, you know, you could have that reference ability, and then, you know, if you can't make a gig, you perhaps refer the other band, and vice versa. You know, build those relationships, don't treat it like a competition. Always talk to the staff at the venues, find out who books the bands, follow them online as well. I think we've mentioned that before, and keep in touch with them, so keep in contact with people. You know, if you attend a night that a promoter's put on, maybe compliment them on that night. You know, sometimes they put on some great themed nights with several different bands. You know, and if you've enjoyed it, go and tell them and go and thank them for putting it on. You know, maybe not necessarily introduce your band at that point. You know, build the relationship first, and then, you know, once you've built that relationship, you can begin to introduce it. Oh yeah, I play in a band as well, and we do this, and you know, we've got a show coming up down the road if you want to come along. And again, great way for people to get the confidence to book you is to actually see you playing live. So what does that work? Well, yeah, people book and work with people who they trust, right? So those relationships are what creates the results. So you know, put a bit of effort into that, and you'll go a long way. Tip number 4 is to use social media, but use social media in the right way. So make sure you've got some good clips of people dancing, singing along, having fun. You know, have some vertical clips that you can share through Instagram or TikTok. You might want to post some behind the scenes footage, do posts of upcoming shows, some quick reels. Use hashtags, but don't use the big ones necessarily, but there might be some local hashtags, some geotags, things that will help people to find you, understand what you do and where you're playing. You can make separate highlights reels for different types of events. So if you're a band that plays bars and weddings and corporate events, then you might want to show different highlight reels for those different types of events. You also might want a mixed one to show your versatility. So it really depends on how you're going to market yourself. I'd probably have them in separate contexts, and then use those intelligently when I start to get into reaching out to those types of events and people that put them on. So why does this work? Well, it's social proofing, right? So it demonstrates that your band's got some energy. It demonstrates that you are, you know, you can pull a crowd, that you're popular, and it also shows the sort of music you play, and shows that you're a professional act. All of that is good social proofing, and will stand you in good stead when you're trying to get shows. Tip number 5, I can't say this enough: be professional, be reliable. So make sure you confirm all the details ahead of time. Get there early, be polite, make sure you've got everything that you need. Make sure you say thank you after each show. We always thank the bar staff and the sound guys after every show, you know, on the microphone so everybody hears. It's a small gesture, but it can go a long way. If you're booking yourselves, make sure you've got a simple contract available, and we can talk about that in another video, but you know, show that you're professional. That's the main thing. If you're working with venues that have a sound engineer, or if you bring your own sound engineer in, I would recommend having a technical specification or tech spec for your band. that shows the stage plot. It shows all of the inputs on the soundboard. Or sometimes these are called a tech rider as well. Really, really useful to have. Really good to provide that ahead of time. That means the sound guy's going to be prepared for you, and you're going to have a much better experience. You're probably going to get a sound check as well, which you might not have time to do if the guy's having to figure out on the fly that he needs another 2 DI boxes over this side of the stage for the keyboards, and your singer's brought an acoustic guitar, so we've got to deal with that as well. Let them know ahead of time, give them a fighting chance to help you have the best show possible. Tip number 6 follows on a little bit from one of our earlier tips as well, and that's collaborating with other bands. So team up with other bands to share gigs or co-headline a night. It means you can split the promo work, you can double your audience if you're lucky, and you're picking bands that complement but don't necessarily do exactly the same sort of thing. You don't want somebody that does, if you're a Britpop band, you don't want to do another Britpop band necessarily. You want to do something that complements you, so that you're going to get more audience. Why does that work? Well, it helps both bands build the crowd, or if you got 3 or 4 bands on a bill, you're introducing the bands to different people. You get a better reputation, and the punters get a better experience because they get more for the cost of entry and a bit more variety. So don't think about these other bands as competition. Think about them as people that can help build you up, and you can help build them up as well. Tip number 7, book your own shows. So book a venue and sell tickets. So find a space. That might be a hall, an art gallery, a community centre, one of the music venues in town, and book them and sell tickets online. Do some Facebook marketing, some Facebook advertising for your event, and you can be pretty successful that way. I've done a number of events. I've got a few more coming up. And we're putting multiple bands on. We're selling tickets to those shows in advance, but we'll take tickets out on the door as well. It means you're cutting out the middleman. There's no promoter there, so they're not taking a percentage. And it means that you've got a little bit more control. So you've got control over the creative for the posters, for how you do the advertising, who you market those ads to. So you know your target audience probably better than anybody else. So you use that to your advantage, and you can do really well with this. And if you pitch these events well, you can get a really good response. We've had some great responses to some of the events that we've done through doing exactly this. And tip number 8 is to get yourself a booking agent. The way I like to do this is I don't go exclusive with any agent, but I do have an agent that generally represents the band to a certain set of venues. But it also leaves me free to organise those ticketed shows and our own gigs with other bands, as I've mentioned previously, or sometimes go direct to other venues. Maybe do private shows, that sort of thing. But having a booking agent there, they do take a percentage, but usually they add that on top of whatever your fee is. I'd say you probably want to have a good 10 to 15 solid gigs behind you, build some sort of track record, make sure you've got that social proofing that we spoke about earlier, make sure you can demonstrate that you can pull a crowd, have a unique selling point. So if you're just playing generic covers, or if you're playing deep cuts, you're unlikely to get an agent interested in you. Really what you want is to have something that's popular, probably something relatively contemporary, or themed. Have a theme. So you need some sort of unique selling point. and that'll get the agents interested. You want to give them a short pitch with your promo kit, give them some history, give them some details about the sort of audience you're pulling in. I'd have a call with them. I generally have a meeting with them when I've looked for agents in the past. I mean, I'm pretty fortunate now that I've got a relationship with a number of agents, so that, you know, when I start up a new project, I can give them a call and say, hey, I've got a new project, and they know that I'm trustworthy and reliable, so I'm likely to get bookings that way. So again, that's good to have those relationships built. But when you're first starting out, you know, sometimes the agent will want to see you play, so you maybe invite them to a gig. You could invite them to a rehearsal. I've seen them do that. I've seen that go pear-shaped as well. You know, you probably don't want them in your rehearsal room if you can at all avoid it. I think you're much better off getting them along to a gig where you know you're going to have a good crowd, and you know you're going to have some energy, and that's going to get them bought in. If you're in a sterile rehearsal room, it's much easier for them to sit there and start pulling apart this show that you're putting together. And I've seen that happen on a number of occasions. So if it was me, I would avoid it. I'd say, no, don't come to the rehearsal room. We'll get you along to a show. So what does that work? Well, agents, they'll help you scale up. For me, they provide us with regular work. So it means that I can say to my band members, you know, we've got this amount of bookings for the year already, but I'm free to go and book other events, or create events as I see fit, and that gives us a lot of variety, but it gives us some stability as well, so they know there's some income at least coming in, which will give us some funds to promote some of those bigger shows that we're putting on. All right, so that's my 8 real world tips to get more gigs for your cover band, and I hope that's helped. If you've got any tips yourself, then feel free to post those in the comments below. Likewise, if there's any of those areas that you'd like me to get into more detail about, I'm happy to make some more videos to do that. So again, leave me a comment, and you know, anything that looks like it's really popular, I'll make a video about that. So some of the things that we might want to look at is, you know, getting more into detail around the promo, around putting on a show, you know, maybe preparing for shows. Anything that you'd like to see, let me know. Otherwise, thank you for tuning in, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you very much.